NFL Week 14, much along the same. Poochie kickers who be shanking and a lot of bad teams. We're going to get into it for Week 14. So, of course, we started off with Detroit winning that game against Green Bay, which was a gutsy, a lot of fourth down calls. Dan Campbell, all guts and glory. So that was a big win. And Green Bay's is an interesting team, but Detroit's on another level. Let's get to the rest. Pittsburgh beat Cleveland. Jameson Winston in Cleveland doing Cleveland things. He was pretty good in Spurs, threw some bad picks, turnovers, the same old thing. Nick Chubb was running. Miles Garrett, you know, I feel for him because that dude gets sacks. He's something else, but they just don't do. Cleveland just is wrecking a good thing. Russell Wilson, tour of winning, doing the thing. Pittsburgh is right there. They're right there. The game that nobody cared about, the paint dry. They even was someone flying over a plane over MetLife talking about the firestorm of the Giants. Well, New Orleans won. Somebody had to win that game. I mean, it was Hughley. New Orleans, yeah, strange team. The first couple weeks, and then they had another week, but they're a strange team. The Giants just stink. I mean, it doesn't matter who they put back their quarterback, and they find ways to lose. The kickers get the field goal blocked in. It's typical Giants. The Giants are just embarrassing. They're like football follies. And that's the thing about the Giants, what Papa don't understand. In between winning those Super Bowls with Bill Parcells and with Tom Coughlin, when they won those championships or they won the Super Bowl, they have a tendency to stink pretty bad. So when they're not successful, they tend to really stink and reek. Miami beat the Jets. Where do you start? Tua came up with enough plays to win. The thing was is that Aaron Rodgers was pretty. He did okay, but Miami was just a little bit better. Though I think that I was looking at it and I thought, whoa. Game went to overtime. They're 3-10. The Jets and the Giants both pretty sad. The Jets situation just really, it's like y'all just lost another game. And they were okay in the game, but they lost. The game that was like watching paint dry, Jacksonville beat Tennessee. Oh God, did they actually have to put this on TV? I mean, really, just brutal, brutal. And two teams that stink, 3-10 clubs. The most one of the most puzzling teams, and when I say puzzling teams that you can't figure out, they're all in the NFC. Minnesota beat Atlanta. Kirk Cousins returned. Sam Darnold out here looking like a beast throwing multiple touchdown passes. Who is that guy? Because the Jets sure could use him now. They spanked Atlanta, but Minnesota's got to be the most quietest 11-2 team you've ever almost seen. Hmm. Philly beat Carolina, and I'm gonna tell you something. Carolina is probably this is gonna sound crazy, and you can call Cap if you want. One of the best 3-10 teams I've seen because Bryce Young is coming on. They've been fighting the last three games. They just didn't get the W. Philly had the claw. Saquon Barkley passed Shady McCoy for the most rushing yards as an Eagle as far as in the season. But it wasn't a dominant performance. Philly had a fighting tooth claw at home against Carolina. Carolina put up a resistance, but Philly's consistent. Second best team in the NFC. I'm still saying it. Tampa Bay beat Vegas despite Baker Mayfield being not that good. He threw some picks. The game was a lot closer. I like the Raiders tight end. The Cat's gonna be the rookie of the year, but the Raiders stink. I mean, there are some crappy teams. It's a lot of 3-2, 3-10, and some 2-11. Some bad football. Tampa Bay probably get this division by default because Atlanta's just not that good. It's embarrassing over there. We don't even talk about that division. Seattle beat Arizona. Seattle is a lot like Minnesota. They're 8-5, but I can't really tell you what they really are. They just seem to have Arizona's number, which is Kyler Murray looked good against most other teams, but he hasn't looked that good against Seattle. The Seattle running game got off to a big, big, big start. So Seattle's in control of that division for now, so they look good. And a team that disappointed and faded was Chicago. This, dare I say, the 49ers look like the actual 49ers that you saw the last few years. They played their best game. Purdy went off. They spanked Chicago. That's the best I've seen Frisco. Maybe a little too late though, but that was the best game they played all season thus far. Um, the Rams beat Buffalo. as a Bills fan, it was a disappointing game for the way that they lost 44-42 because you can't give up those kind of number of points. The optimistic thing is Josh Allen is in the argument for MVP. He put on display. He went off. He ran the ball for touchdowns. He threw for the only problem I have with that is James Cook didn't get enough cooking. And they were down most of the game. Puka and the Rams receiving core was tearing the Bills secondary up, and you can't have that. They was getting exposed bad. The Rams got what they want. Matthew Stafford was moving that rock, so not the kind of game as a Bills fan. They knew it was a trap game because they got to play Detroit next week. And you know it was an exciting game for its points and stuff. You can't play no 44-42 game in the week 14 because that usually doesn't mean that you're Super Bowl bound. It just doesn't. You don't have those kind of games this late in the season, especially when you're getting lackadaisical, you're getting exposed like that on the run, the passing. They didn't jam those cats up. They got beat, and the Rams dictated the game, and it was just was a kind of game that, yeah, it's fun, but if you win, if you come back, but you still don't want to get into that kind of scoring match. You really don't. You got to have better, and that's the problem that Josh Allen. It reminded me a lot of the Kansas City game a few years ago what they lost in Arrowhead. When he be playing his heart out, but the defense and the coaching let him down. This is why I'm not excited until I see the results in the postseason as a Bills fan. As for the Rams, they're a dangerous team. If they can get in and their offense can gear and do what they can do, that's a team that could be a problem. So you got some questionable teams in the NFC. If Detroit, if Detroit and Philly slip up, you got some teams like the Rams or Seattle or Minnesota that could be a problem. So keep your eyes open. The NFC to me has got more interesting storylines. And Kansas City beat the Chargers. Kansas City won the 9th straight. AFC West title flag. Patrick Mahomes stays in the flags and wins. And they stay by the chin of the rabbit's hole and the Lucky Charms and the lucky rolls of the dice because they won the ball. The ball doinks off the goalpost and goes through. The Chargers played well enough to be in the game. I don't think they played well enough to win. Mahomes, again, their offense, they're having some offensive issues, but they do enough to always squeeze it out. And again, if you win, that's the name of the game. You got to win the game. They 12-1. So would I rather be lucky and win or be ordinary and be 8-5? Sometimes you got to go with it. I am a firm believer it's going to go one or two ways for Kansas City. They're either going to go crazy and turn on another gear, or there'll be it'll be a short run in the postseason. But either way, they're in the driver's seat as usual. If they got a big game, if they win their next games, especially when they play Pittsburgh Center, if they win those games, they control their destiny. And it's hard to ever think that Mahomes and them won't do it because they find ways to win. Justin Herbert looked poised. He came out good in the third quarter. He stunk the first half. And that's the problem. The Chargers, I say this is building towards the future. So the next couple of years, I expect Herbert will have to have his leap one way or the other. So far, that's the week 14. There is still one game, which will be Cincinnati and Dallas, and I'll do that one the next day. Cincinnati should win that game. Dallas on a little hot streak, but I think Joe Burrow and them will win. But it'll be interesting. We'll see how it all turns out, and we'll see if Michael Parsons, who proclaimed Joe Burrow the MVP, what will happen. Anyway, please like, subscribe, welcome thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hands, keep your mind clear, watch out for another. Share the video if you like, and hit that membership. Stay safe, stay woke, stay free, stay true. And again, there's been a continuous pattern. Like week 14 is like other weeks. You got some bad coaching, bad secondaries, bad kickers who can't kick nothing inside of 40 yards, 35 extra points, field goals, because a lot of bad kickings, special teams. There's some interesting situations, and there's just some bad teams going and coaching. But you are starting to see some teams and some interesting storylines going around. So let me know how your team did below. All right, I'm out.